Alright, so an important thing is to be able to keep track of number formatting and keep track of that. So I've got, what is this, about 16 things down on this entry. I'm going to copy those, paste those all throughout, and I'm going to now change the formatting based on all this. So you can see how it looks. The number is not going to change. There's nothing different about these cells, however I change the formatting. So first, if I hit Control and the $, which would mean Control Shift 4, it puts it in a number format, and the way it does it, it makes negative numbers have a parenthesis, and it's obviously in dollar form to the nearest penny. Control Shift 1 puts in the commas just as the $sign does, but there's no $, and there's no negative, the negatives are negative, shows with a minus sign, not with a parenthesis, and there's no $, and it's not red. You can see these numbers down here. These are random numbers going across, so this number is not actually supposed to be the same every time. You can see that it's not. But what you can see is that this number here, 0.0148, looks like 0.01. You couldn't tell the difference between that and 0.01. It's showing a rounded number, but it is not that number. It is the actual number there that is in that cell. So what you see in the cell here is based on what you put for the formatting, not what's actually in the cell. And you'll see more of that later. Control Shift 5 puts things in percent terms, which is really going to make a mess until you get down to something like these numbers that kind of make sense. 40%, so forth. And this is going to look like a mess a few times, but this is going to make things into a date format. Now, it isn't that these cells don't have enough room, it's that it doesn't like negatives in dollar formatting, and it doesn't like really big numbers either for this, not dollar formatting, but for dates. So I'm going to show you some stuff with dates. I better put one in right here. Let's put these numbers in again, and I'm going to highlight this area, and I'm going to make it custom. My custom format, look, you have day, month, and year. If you do one day, it's going to show the day of the month. If you use two, then if the day is in the first 10 days, first 9 days, it'll put a 0 in front of it so everything would line up. If you do 1 for the M, they will give you the month. This will put a 0 in front of it. Now if I put one more M, then I get a short insignia for what the month is, or 4, it'll print out the whole word. And the same thing goes with year, 2 years. I can get the last 2 dates, or I can get the full date with 4. So if I want a full date, I could use in English format, or the way Americans write it, 4 M's, day, comma, space, and that will look like what we're familiar with. And so I'm going to put all of those in that format, and you can see what I did there. So this would be MMM D YYY. Oops, 4 Y's. Alright, so it's coming up with dates for all the cells that it can. Remember, so in A, there's nothing you can do. It's not a number format, so it's going to stay that way. So let's see what happens. I want to show you with numbers and zeros. So I'm going to highlight this area. I'm going to do a custom. And it's a lot easier for me to identify things if they have commas. So what's interesting here is if I put a number sign, it's going to only record something if there's something there. Or, but if I put in a 0, it'll force it to show something there. So if I do number comma 000, what this means is that it will use the thousands digit, put a comma there before the thousands to help you read it. It'll put a number if there's something there, otherwise it'll always tell you those 3 zeros. I can have a decimal and have it show a digit, and let's say I use a number, and it'll only show the digit if there is one. If there isn't one, it's going to leave it empty. And so then I hit OK. Now I don't like this format, it isn't very pretty, it would be difficult to read off, but you can see what it's doing. It's taking the number 1, it's showing it, it's got 2 zeros before it because I forced that because it has the 2 zeros here. It has 3 zeros right there, and then the 1 fills that in. Now 2500, you can see since I've got this number sign, it's going to record because it needs that 2. There is something there. 500.0. Same thing with the 7 million something. -5 going across. This is the first one that has a decimal, and I have it show the decimal 0.4 because it's got that to 1 digit because it's got only one number here. So it's able to show it. It will. If not, it's still showing that decimal. So this is a pretty ugly format, but if I was doing something, I might do something like this. If I wanted to show 3 digits after the decimal no matter what, and have a comma, and have at least a 0 in there. Alright, so there's a lot of use in there. You can see that I only put 1 comma in there, but it'll do it for all of them to go through. This could be a really helpful format. So, but that's how number signs and dollars work, zeros work in the number formatting. Next, I want to show what the stars and the underscore as the underscore, something like that, do. So let me go here, number again, sorry, custom. I'm going to keep that format I was working with, number, comma, number, 0.000. And let's say you wanted to have in front of this, you wanted all these to be lined up. You see how these are kind of lined up there? But let's say I want to make these some kind of like dollars, and I want the dollar sign on the far left, so then I can do $, star, space, and it'll put a space between with the $sign and the first of the numbers every single time. If I had a star and then a @ sign, it's going to fill it with ats. I'll show you that. See how it just fills up that space so that everything looks the same. Fills it up with ats. That's not very helpful. You might be able to find a use for it, but that you can find a lot more uses for. You see how it's kind of lining up all the $signs and it's saying, no, it didn't really because of this, the ones that are negative. So let me show you where the underscore comes in. So if I put an underscore, it just does one space of that, or it leaves enough room for that, but it's not going to print it, but it leaves room for it, so that if I had this, after I put the semicolon, this is now the negative part of this. But what it looks like, this is if it's positive, now this is what if it's a negative number, what it should show. You see how it lined it all up, and the negative got in there, the negatives are in there. After doing the stars and the underscores, now let's show what happens when you have the commas and the quotation marks. So grab the area, number formatting, I'm going to go to custom. Alright, so I'm just trying to show what happens with that. So I'm going to make it clear by doing something like number, comma, number, 0. So there's going to be at least a 0 showing, and anything more than that is only if it's necessary. Except now I'm going to put another comma here. And then I'm going to put quotation mark, K, quotation mark, and then do OK. Now look, everything is going to the to the nearest 1,000, right? This is 71,000 and 1,000, which is, if you look at the number, 71,000, 1,000 thousands, that would be millions. That's going to show the same number there. This 3, that's because 2,500 is rounded to 3. And the K after that is, I'm using that for represent 1,000, but that shows up because of the quotation marks around the K. And you see it's all lined up on there. So 56,100, this is not really 56,100, 56,100,000. So that would be 56 million. We can do this with more than one approach. So here I'm going to change this to 2 commas there and put an M. Now it's going to be in millions. So this one is 7 million now, this one's 56, these round to 1, all the others are going to round to 0. They're going to show it that way. You could use decimals in here. So it's going to show 2 digits after the decimal. So this is 7.1 million, 56.1 million, 0.76 million, 0.89 million. And I like this format a lot so that I don't have to count commas or count anything. I just have the M's over there. Alright, now we're going to start with the semicolons and show in color. So I'm going to go to custom, and I'm going to just have a generic format here, number, comma, number, number, 0, so that you see those. And after the semicolon, now this makes it go to showing things what would be after a negative if the number is negative. So if the number is negative, if I put in brackets red and then number, comma, number, number, 0, it's going to show the ones that are negative as red. There's no negative sign in there because I didn't put that negative sign in there. When I altered the format, I altered it to show it to be red. Now that doesn't mean it is positive. That just means that it's not going to show a positive. So in fact, if I take this negative number and multiply it by this negative number, I get a positive number. Okay, because or if I take this negative number, if I take this negative number and multiply it by this positive number, I get a negative number, and it's clearly shown as negative because I didn't change the formatting down in cell 19. Alright, so what you do after the colon, after the semicolon, changes what happens. Now I could put a negative sign in there, and it'll put that right before. If I put the star space, oops, I'm in the wrong spot. If I put negative here, and then star space would mean that it's going to put the negative and align it on the left hand side. After this, I can also put what happens if it's 0. If it's 0, I'm just going to make it right. Nada. See, I can use words in there, and let's make it a different color. So this 0 becomes nada, and this is actually the number 0. It is not the word nada, it is the number 0. So, for example, showing how they can be misleading, I can take this custom number format that I've been using and say, what happens if it's negative? Well, if it's negative, I don't want you to be able to say no. So there's going to be no difference between positives and negatives. There's going to be no difference because I wrote them no difference. And if the number is 0, I want it to show the number 2000. Alright, so what you see over here doesn't recognize that this is actually -5. It looks like it's 5. There's nothing to change on it. And this looks like 2000, but it's really 0. These are negative, but you can't tell it. Now, this highlights the very fact that you can't just look at the cell and figure out what's in the cell. What's in the cell is actually what's here, not what's over here. Here, not there. So when you're curious as to what's going on in a cell, you have to look at what's in the cell here. Don't just look at it here. This is just to make things just reporting output. These are the inputs. They go right there.